welcome to the 77th edition of the Avignon International Theatre Festival. There's fresh energy in the air this year with a new director at the helm for the first time in nearly a decade. Portuguese actor and director Tiago Rodrigues is the first non-Frenchman to lead Avignon, a fact he sees as a reflection of the festival's international and humanist spirit.
The fact
that I'm the first foreigner or non-Frenchman to direct the Avignon Festival speaks more about the spirit of the festival and a part of French society than about myself. It means that the festival has been a cultural event for decades and a crossroads of cultures, languages, worldviews, a plurality of aesthetics, but also ethical visions of the human experience through the performing arts. Above all, I'll try to leave a mark that lives up to the brilliant genetic code of the Avignon Festival.
Avignon seeks to be a mirror of the world, and its two opening night performances put social justice center stage. French choreographer and hip-hop pioneer Bintou Dembele began her dance show Groove out in the streets and ended on stage at the Opera House in a communal dance party with the public. The show also included a powerful response to the killing of 17-year-old Naël, who was shot by police just a week before the festival opened. Meanwhile, French director Julie Deliquet brought society's most marginalized voices to the festival's most prestigious stage, the Court of Honor in the Papal Palace. Welfare is based on the 1973 documentary by Frederick Wiseman that intimately captures all the devastating, humorous, bureaucratic, and at times existential interactions at a welfare center in New York City.
Vous trouvez ça juste de voler alors? Non, mais excusez-moi, monsieur, mais moi j'emploie pas le mot juste. Bah si, vous l'avez dit. Non, pas du tout. Moi j'emploie pas le mot juste. Moi, j'emploie le mot nécessaire.
This year, Avignon introduced English as a guest language, and my guest today is British writer, director, and actor Tim Crouch. Tim, thank you so much for being here.
A pleasure.
Now, festival director Tiago Rodrigues has said that Brexit is actually one of the reasons he chose English. He really wanted to showcase British artists. What does it mean to you to be performing at Avignon?
I think it's an inspired decision by Tiago, because at the time when so much of the international community is moving away from the UK has placed itself at a distance from the international community, and Europe in particular. It's so fantastic and sort of counterintuitive to move towards the UK and say, it's okay, you're okay, we still love you, you know, we still need you, really. And I wish people in our country, in my country, would understand that.
And you've been described as one of the great innovators of British drama. Can you talk about your particular approach to theatre?
The great innovator. Well, I don't feel like that. I'm lucky in that the last 20 years I've been able to pursue some ideas, maybe. And perhaps that's a little unusual in British theatre, is that my work is led by ideas. I suppose that means that the work is not traditional in that sense. But I always try and tell a story in the work. An Oak Tree, the play that I'm with at the moment, tells a very powerful story, and the experimental stuff is around how the story is told, but also how an audience is involved in the work.
And let's talk more about An Oak Tree, because there are many different layers to it. How would you explain what it's like, what it's about, to someone who isn't going to be able to see it?
Yeah, so, I mean, it is, in one way, a traditional piece in that it tells a story about two men meeting after a rather tragic event, and they work through their relationship with that event. It's made particularly unusual in that one of the actors who plays one of those characters is new each time the play is performed. So an actor who meets me 1 hour before the show, we have a chat, they still don't know the play, they mustn't have read or seen the play. And I guide them through it. So I guide them through text that I give them, text that I feed to them in their earpiece.
Well, that tragic event is the death of one of the character's daughters who was hit by the car of the other character. Let's take a look at a clip from An Oak Tree.
This is the place where your child was killed. You come here regularly. The truth is, you can't keep away. This is the sound of that roadside. Whenever you hear this sound, that's where you are.
Le fait que ce soit pas en français, j'ai eu l'impression que c'était carrément un autre univers.
J'ai pris beaucoup de plaisir à comment il nous balade entre l'hypnose, le théâtre, la fiction.
J'aurais aimé qu'il y ait un peu plus d'improvisation parce que je trouve le concept passionnant.
Le texte me parle pas. Très bon, très fort, très triste.
Stop it! And sweep!
Now, Tim, you wrote this play in 2005, so nearly 20 years ago. You've performed it over 360 times with over 360 different partners. What's it like for you acting with someone different every single night?
Well, it's like it's the first time every time. I've never for one moment felt like bored or I'm traveling old routes, because the actor brings their personality, their identity, their emotionality, and it's my job in each performance to be responsive to that.
And it is a very difficult topic. Why did you decide to build the show around that tragedy of a parent losing a child?
I think one of the themes of the play is how we respond to loss and the role of art in our response to loss. So one character is not an artist, one character is a stage hypnotist, but for the terms of this play, I kind of see them as an artist. And in response to the loss, the artist loses their ability, and in response, the non-artist finds their ability. So it's how art can help us through these extreme moments.
That's definitely something this festival is all about. And in addition to the 44 shows taking place as part of the official festival in Avignon, there are nearly 1,500 others taking part as part of its off festival or fringe festival. France 24's Natasha Milleret followed one group of new performers as they make their Avignon debut.
Il y a des surprises pour tout le monde. Voilà, on rit, on pleure, c'est bien.
Vraiment. On va y aller, hein. On a très envie d'y aller.
That's two more to see Bal Perdu. A few hours before the premiere, this theatre company are pestering as many as possible to see their play. With 1,500 shows vying for festival goers' attention, flyering is the best way to get bums on seats.
C'est un bonheur en vrai.
It's a bit stressful. You're scared of rejection, but I love it.
Mais j'adore. Et je pense que tous, on adore. Quand on a commencé
When we started our theater company, Thanks for the Flowers, the 7 of us friends from school, we were just joking around. We said, oh yeah, we'll do the Avignon Festival, but here we are.
Et on est là.
After 2 hours in the baking heat, the 7 of them return to warm up in their rented flat. They can't rehearse in the theatre because the shows are back to back, morning to night. Their piece, which grew out of a student project, received funding from an award for young talent backed by public and private bodies. The text has gone through 20 versions before coming to Avignon.
La création, elle est en partie grâce à eux.
Part of it is thanks to them. I worked with the structure they devised, and afterwards they improvised on it a lot. We're a group of friends, so that's reflected in our work.
It's mid-afternoon and they're heading to the theatre to tell the story of a broken friendship. The characters revisit their memories inside a square of tape on the floor, like a game they used to play as friends.
Non. Oh mec, je suis mort. Oh mec, tu l'as fait? Non. Tu l'as eu tes profs de sport, mec?
The
script quite accurately depicts how we love and lose.
One of my faves.
Good luck to the actors, they're great.
All the theatre companies here have the same dream: get noticed and maybe even bag a run in the bigger theatre. Meanwhile, they can savour all the thrill of the festival.
Merci pour les fleurs.
Tim Crouch, you also have a show showing in the Off Festival at Avignon. Tell us about that one.
Feels like I'm Mr. Avignon this year. The first play I ever wrote was a solo piece called My Arm, Mon Bras. And in France, for the last few years, there has been a beautiful performer, Théophile Sclavis, who has been performing his own production of Mon Bras. He's a beautiful theatre maker. He's been an ally and a collaborator in some of my work. So it's nice to be able to straddle both the in and the off.
And the other official play that you're showing in the official festival is a solo show that you wrote more recently in the wake of the pandemic, I believe. Tell me about Truth's a Dog Must to Kennel.
Truth's a Dog Must to Kennel opened last year and was written out of the pandemic, I suppose. And it was written in response to having spent a lot of my time in the lockdown looking at screens, watching what was called theatre on screens and feeling this isn't theatre, this is not what theatre is. Theatre is about being in a real place with real people. So it was a response to that. The title is a strange one, but it comes from King Lear, from Shakespeare's King Lear. And there is a character in King Lear called the Fool who leaves the world of the play. So I'm exploring an idea of leaving. A lot of my colleagues left the arts during lockdown. It was an incredibly difficult time for artists.
And the play is said to tackle the question of the death of live arts. Is that something that you're worried about?
I worry that gradually the digitalization of an art form is going to push the live nature away. So you will always hear me speak on behalf of liveness. An oak tree is liveness. A different actor who does it every time, it's never the same. You can't televise it. You can't put it on the radio. It's theatre.
And Avignon is liveness as well.
It
you
totally
are Mr.
is.
Avignon this year. I'm so glad to have met you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
A pleasure. Thank you.
And Avignon's annual festival may be centered around performance, but visual arts are present as well. We can end with a show that's taken over the Lambert Museum of Contemporary Art. Petit Rien, or Little Nothings, is from Cameroonian artist Pascal Martin Taillou. It's a series of 23 colorful installations, but behind their playfulness lies a serious message about colonialism and climate injustice and a call to repair our world. Thanks so much for joining us here in Avignon. We hope to see you again in Paris on Encore.